All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another QtDay talk. We are about to watch the recorded talk called Design Thinking, Why You Should Always Include UX Processes in Your Work by Matteo Forni and Tommaso Bonvicini. So let's bring them live so you can meet them before the video starts. Let's go ahead and bring both of you guys live. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Glad to have you here. So let me tell you a little bit about them. Matteo here is an interaction designer specializing in the design of digital experiences. Between a design sprint and a collaborative design session, Matteo applied the methods and logic of design thinking to numerous issues, from artificial intelligence to gaming, from mobile applications to embedded devices and IoT, and wherever there was ruthless and creative use of new technologies. His role here at Develer begins with the understanding of a problem. It develops through prototyping and test sessions, takes the form of interface design, and never ends. It is a wonderful iterative process. So calculating the ROI of the user experience in an elegant way is its most compelling professional challenge. Sailing around the world in a clean sea is his greatest dream. Yeah, it's great to know that. And Tommaso, or Tommy here, he is a C++ and Qt software developer who is passionate about expressing simplicity and expressiveness through code while minimizing downtime and maintenance requirements. So here's a little bit about this talk before we start it. When we talk about user experience design as a workflow, we all imagine a list of strict and academic practices that often require to be applied by a specialist, but that's not always true. Design thinking teaches us that any one of us can bring contributions to meet user requirements without needing to be a UXD guru. Before methodologies, activities, and UX metrics, design thinking, what really matters is the approach. What attitude do we want to keep to satisfy customers' requests? How do we react to the reasons that drive companies to create new products? This is always a matter of choices. So today we will look at why it is better to consider design thinking as well as the UXD process in our project. So for all of you who are watching, please stay tuned at the end for the live Q&A with both of them. And I just want to remind everyone that if you do have questions, please direct them to the Q&A chat. That's the one with the little question mark button. It's not the help button. And keep things organized there. So enjoy, and we'll see you after the video. Thanks.
See you later.
See you.
Hi everyone, my name is Matteo Forni and I'm an interaction designer. Today we'll talk about the design thinking methods and we'll see how, by using some user experience activities, you can improve your project from the beginning. This is my first talk as a speaker in a conference, so I hope to share to you all the passion that I have for my marvelous job. I'm very excited to be here today. We can start by reading the summary. I divided my talk in three different parts. The first one is a general review. I want to offer to you an overview about the method. In the second part, I want to describe to you just five common mistakes that you can do or find while you try to apply the method during the project. And in the third part, I'll show to you a real product that we made by using Qt and by applying the right path of design thinking. The product that I showed to you is made for the event that was scheduled in March, the Qt 2020 scheduled in March, so it's a physical product for a physical and live conference. I hope that you enjoy the same and that you will be same level interested for the product. Let's start with the general review. I want to introduce design thinking by starting from this brief comparison. What is and what is not design thinking? First point is a guide to follow. If you want to introduce design thinking in your project, you have to start to introduce it from the beginning. You can decide to add an activity whenever you want. Imagine design thinking as an accurate list of activities in sequence, and you can't mix, replace, or add or cut an activity whenever you want. You have to respect the order. So it's not an accessory. It's a mindset. If you want to explain what you can do, if you want to sell what you can do with design thinking, you have to know very well the tools of which design thinking is composed. It's not an assumption. It's not sufficient to describe design thinking by using just a sentence or an academic definition. You have to know very well what you can do with a powerful method. It's a bunch of cases. Imagine the usability problem as doors to open. With design thinking, you can open all of the doors. So it's not a trump card. It's not an easy solution. It's not a rabbit that you pick from the hat. So to solve some problem immediately is more than it. And it's a bunch of cases because in design thinking are contained many solutions to resolve many kinds of problems. Design problem, even business problem, or problems regarding other application field. It's expensive. If you want to introduce design thinking in your project, you have to consider a big slice of your budget, because design thinking requires time, energy. In general, as for a small or big project, is not cheap. Design thinking is a big stuff. There are many application fields of which design thinking is composed. And here in this slide, I've just mentioned 4 of them, the most famous. Service design, customer experience design, user experience design, and user interface design at the end. I want to explain a little bit each one, starting from the largest. Service design. Imagine that you have to create an experience by using and by considering just 3 different goals: business goal, technical goal, and customer goal. But you have aligned, you have distributed your experience on a timeline. So the time is the principal factor that you have faced. By applying the service design methodologies, you can reach this kind of result. For example, if you have to design a new ticket machine for the underground of London, you have to consider the 3 aspects, but even you have to consider the time. So service design offers to you the useful tool to solve this kind of problem. With customer experience design, instead, you can improve and increase the satisfaction of your customer. Basically, customer experience design is used to solve problems related with purchase system, platform, e-commerce platform, but even physical retail store, for example. User experience design instead is the most vast field of application, because by using user experience design activities, you can analyze, study, and improve what happened when a human interacts with a digital product. You want to improve a component, you want to improve your application, you want to create a new kind of button or a new kind of transition. With user experience design, you can analyze and test this kind of element. User interface design is the last one, but for this reason is not less important respect the other one. Because with user interface design, you can create a big difference between your product and the product of the customer. It's the most specific and specialized field because who work on user interface design have to be very skilled on software to create a beautiful user interface. So this is a panoramic about the application field of design thinking. You can consider event design thinking as a sequence of events. In this slide, I had mentioned just the main phases of which design thinking is composed. The first, understand, define, and implementation. Understand is the biggest because during the understand phase, you have to get all the principal information you need to create your experience. During the define phase, your task is to converge what you found before, so the information you get before, into some solutions, some proposals, by using prototypes, sketches, or something like this. And during the implementation phase, you have to test before the release by using many methods. And then in the next slide, we will see something about the test in more in specific. Let me explain in depth each phase that I mentioned before, starting from the largest, understand phase. During this phase, you have to be focused on all the information you can get from the world around the user. So the principal skill you need during this phase is empathy, because you literally have to put yourself in the shoes of the user. I just mentioned 3 methods that you can introduce in your user research: survey, in-person interview, and observation. By using survey, you can get 2 different kinds of data: qualitative data and quantitative data. By using survey, you can get information in few days. So you need just a few days to cover the audience you have selected for the answer that you need. But the most important thing for survey is the quality of the question. It's very easy to create a survey by using common tool that you can find online. It's very hard, it's really hard to generate the right question for our target. And you have to remember that the good result from the survey depends from the quality of the question that you put in the survey. By using in-person interview. With in-person interview, you get just qualitative data, because the answer that you get from the question are open, completely open. So I suggest this method to understand the context around the user, because by using an in-person interview, you can understand the user needs, but even the context where the user used the product you are analyzing. Observation. By using observation, you just have to watch how a user interact with the machine or with the software. It's very used. It's most used on service design, because if you have, for example, a redesign ticket machine, the same example that I have already made before, the ticket machine of the Underground of London, you have to watch very well how the user interact with the machine, and you have to record on with the camera, with video, with notes, each action that the user have to do before reach his goal. So observation is very important when you have to resolve a service design problem. The mixed phase is the most energized phase, because during this phase, you have to use your creativity. The result of this phase depends by the method that you choose for generate many ideas. In the slide, I mentioned just 3.5 method to generate idea. Of course, brainstorming, and It's better if you use brainstorming with other people. So if you include other people during the brainstorming, organizing a co-design session. In this way you can get many solutions, many ideas from different points of view. You can even start during this phase to prototype your ideas, so the generated ideas. There are many ways to prototype. You can use paper and pen, you can use software to prototype, but consider that is a right choice. Put on paper the ideas generated, because it's very important to create a shape around the idea immediately. Design sprint is in red because we believe that the design sprint is useful to create and generate many ideas, but design sprint is used to validate idea. So if you have an idea to put in the market quickly, you have to use design sprint, because in 4 or 5 days you can decide what is the best solution to sell. So what is the best product to put on the market. So this is the difference between brainstorming and design sprint. Design sprint to validate idea, brainstorming to generate many ideas. Design thinking is in iterative steps, because of course you have to test your product and come back, test and come back again. For this reason, between define and implementation phase, I've added the green space that you can see on the slide with euro symbol and question mark. Testing phase, it is an hybrid phase, and in my opinion is the most important phase of the whole process. How can you test your product? We are talking about software design, so user interface design, and if you have an interactive prototype, you can generate 2 different kinds of tests: usability test and user interface test. I will describe to you the modality of usability test, and I won't start from the composition of the prototype. From designer point of view, during this phase, the most important thing is to not frustrate the user during the test. So the interactive prototype you introduce on your test should be always very easy to understand. And the goal at the end of the prototype should be very reachable from user point of view. From it depends the quality of the feedbacks that you can get from this activity. So the feedbacks that you can use to improve your product before the release. About the budget, you can introduce this method, and by looking this graph, surprisingly, the usability test could be not too expensive for your product. Yes, because by looking the red line, by using just 5 testers for the session, you can get more than 75% of the feedback, the useful feedback to improve your product. So if you consider that usability test has a duration around 1 hour, with just 5 hours for test, you can improve a lot your product before the release. After this phase, we can talk about the implementation phase. But I want to explain very quickly this slide, because at the end of the talk, Tommaso Bonvicini, the developer, will explain to you how we made the final product from technical point of view. The most important thing in this slide is the term that you can read below the method list, DSM. DSM is the abbreviation of design system, and the design system is the place, the project in which the designer adds all the elements of which the user interface is composed. Design system even is the bridge between the designer work and the front-end developer work, because the front-end developer can read the specific measurement about icons, buttons, template, layouts, and then he can build the final product, so the final user interface. At the end of the the talk, we will see even the elements of the design system. So an example of the design system. The second part. As I promised during the summary, I won't show to you just 5 very dangerous mistakes that you can do in your project. And I won't start from the first one, the most dangerous in my opinion, your instinct. If you are basing on your instinct the new experience you are designing, probably at the end of the process, when you will release the product on the market, you will receive a big punch from the real user. Yes, because just using your instinct, you are creating an experience that works just for you and not for all of us. My suggestion is start the project by considering always the context, the final destination of the product. This is the most important decision you can take when you start a new project. The second mistake, user interface trend. It's not always true that behind a beautiful surface there is a solid experience. My suggestion is apply the best user interface trend, the best user interface you can do, only when you have a solid and tested experience behind. Because if you work by using just a nice detective factor, probably you will collect many likes from the platform in which the designers share their work, but the product will be useless for all of us. Okay, so user interface trends is beautiful, but pay attention when you decide to introduce it in your project. What happens when you remove the users from the list of the user experience activities on your project? Human-centered design is based on real user needs. And you can't replace the value of the user just by including on the project some different strategies to improve the final result. Great marketing campaign, promises of great performances for your product, or a set of original features, for example, for the final product. The only thing you need to create a very complete product is the value of the user. And you should consider the value of the user from the beginning. And the same, you have to consider the testing budget from the beginning. So you need a big slice of the budget for user testing if you want to create a product usable for all of us. User testing is the key to increase the return of investment for you and for the customer that pay you for the service. The last mistake is doing during the process without teaching. During the process, you have to explain in every moment what you are doing. The result, the deliverable, for example. This is very important because the people around you in your team or in the customer team don't know what is the method and what could be the result and the impact of the method on your project. So don't forget this. Doing without teaching is a bad way to face the process, the work process. The third part, the last one, the right design thinking process applied on a real product. So today I want to show to you a product that we made for the event, for the QtDay 2020 that was scheduled, if you remember, in March. So a classic conference, a live conference. So I want to show to you how we made a physical product by applying the right flow of design thinking. And of course, I won't start my explanation from the most important point, the context. For this project, we decided to base our production on by using proprietary hardware, so the devil board, and we have decided to maintain the place where the devil board was placed in the past years. So the info point or the help desk directly at the entrance of the conference. So this is the context of our project from the beginning. We set 3 different goals. The first one about the engagement for all of attendees. The second one, we decided to ask some information to the user by the usage of the product, just to remain in contact after the end of the conference. And then we decided to create something very curious and create something very attractive from a user interface point of view by using our devel board. I tried to apply our strategy in the same sequence that I described before. So understand phase, define, and implementation. For this project, we decided to start and to introduce the user research by using a survey. So we generate a survey and we ask it to some developers, past attendees, some question about the best experience that could be created for an event like QtDay. To face the define step, we introduced co-design sessions, so we shared many ideas and many solutions, and then we start to sketch, to put on paper the solution from the co-design session. Defined from the generated from the co-design session. At the end, we analyzed the feasibility and originality of the solution we validated, and then we start the prototype phase. So we generate many prototypes, so two different kinds of prototypes, low-fi prototype and high-definition prototype. At the end, we start the last part, so the implementation with the user interface and by working directly with the front-end developer. So, starting from understand phase and about the data we get from the survey. So, as you can see on the slide, more than 66% of the answer suggest us to design a concept based on eco-sustainability theme. Another important information we get regarding the time of use of the experience. As I told before, the devel board was at the info point of the conference, so you have to consider the crowd that it may created around the desk. So the people suggested to us to design an experience very short, less of 3 minutes or 3 minutes maximum for the experience. About the qualitative data we get from the survey, another suggestion regarding the quality of the user interface. Many data, a data visualization on the screen is the most suggested kind of interface for our product. How we synthesize in question and how we introduced the co-design session. We defined two different of profile, okay, by answering to that question. So who is the attendee, so the profile of the attendee, what he wants basically, and why is present at the conference, so why is interested. So the friction that he can meet during the conference or before. After this analyze, we created two different profiles, a developer and a sales area manager. So two different profiles for the QtDay conference. I let you read the profile, and as you can see, there is a completely different intention between the profile, completely different friction between the profile. To generate the ideas around this two profile, we started with a co-design session, and as you can see from our wave, we are here at the end of the largest part, so the understand phase, and we are entering in the defined phase, so the mid phase. So we are converging the data that we get in some solution. The co-design session during the design phase. Who are the key participants of the co-design session? Basically, we included in the team 4 different profiles. The first one, a role that know very well the hardware of the dev board. Someone who can change the project with his decision, who know very well how build the product from technical point of view, from a coding point of view, and of course the user to get some feedback about the usability of the experience. This is the session list of activity. As you can see in the left side of the screen, we started reviewing the data we get. Then we started with an activity, the how might we activity, just to generate many solutions and many ideas. We synthesize the ideas with dot voting activity, and then we validate the idea by using a matrix. The most important part of this slide is the polygon in the middle, because the process is always the same. Before, you should explore the context, explore the data, and then you have to define. Explore and define, explore and define, until you have a unique solution. Okay, this is the right flow, so the right sequence of the action that you can do while you try to apply the design thinking method. And here in this slide, you can see 2 examples of how might we. So for Tom's side, how might we make easily accessible the panel of the event? Okay, so because Tom is a developer, and he won't be very sure about the content of the talk. Instead, Leonardo want understand if the technology shown during the conference could be useful for you and for him and for his company. So 2 completely different profiles. Of course, we decided together to generate an experience not formal but enjoyable for all attendees. This is a base from we start to generate many ideas. And here you can see 3 the most voted ideas from the co-design session. Let me explain. The first one, QT for planet. Imagine that you have a leak of pollution from an industry and you have solved the leak. You can block and stop the leak by fixing a bug. Okay, and in the middle, QT drink. You are in the conference, and you can create your customized drink just by using our dev board and just by setting some charts and some graph. And at the end, QT music, so the customized playlist from Spotify, just by generated by some question that we asked to the user while he are using the experience. So the QT music it was the most voted solution. So we started to create a solution around this concept. To give life to the idea we selected during the co-design session, we started from design some low-definition prototypes. As you can see from the image on the slide, a low-definition prototype is composed by wireframe. A wireframe is a very poor representation of the final user interface. Into the wireframe, you can find colors, specific elements like buttons or icons, and even the contents into the user interface are filled with unreal data, so even the content are completely fake. This kind of prototype are very useful for two different reasons. Because in any case, you can explain to the other person involved in your team how you want, your experience have to run by using a sequence of wireframe in low definition mode. And even you can start user testing phase just by using a low definition prototype, because in any case you can get some important information for your product. Now let me show to you the evolution of the product from the low definition prototype to the final product. Here we go. This is the final product that we made for the live version of QtDay 2020. As you can see, the screen of the devel board is into the black chassis, and behind the black chassis there is our proprietary hardware, the devel board. So you can see the yellow cable for Wi-Fi connection is connected right now, and the black power cable connected to my electricity grid. Okay, check out your mailbox and get your own Qt playlist in Spotify. Let me check. And yes, it's arrived. This is the mail. Can you see? This is the mail, and then I'm curious, I want to open my playlist on Spotify. Let me show the song. Counting Crows. Oh, the Beach Boys. Let me. Yeah, it works. So, thank you so much, and I want to spread my word to Tommaso Bonvicini that will explain to you how we made this product from technical point of view. Thank you so much, and bye. See you later for Q&A.
Thank you very much, Matteo. So, my name is Tommaso Bonvicini. I work at Develer as a C++ and Qt software developer. My role here has been to develop the demo application that we are gonna see soon. The application has been developed entirely in QML. This is due to the fact that the application was kinda simple from a design perspective. And so no C++ was really used except for the main CPP file. So I'm gonna talk briefly about two different topics. One is more general and one is more specific. But let's see an entire tour of the demo application first. So let's begin. Okay, I can choose a role, maybe project manager. Let me go back, and no, I'm a developer. My name, I can use my alias, which is Maze. Maze@develer.com is my email. Okay. Oh, here's the summary of all the info I put in. Okay, here's the next section where I can choose my favorite city. Maybe London. Okay, but about 9 kilometers every day using my motorbike. In my spare time I can choose maybe CrossFit and tennis. Okay. Definitely coding 1,000 rows. A little bit more software design, less gaming, and okay, we're done. As you can imagine, developing a graphical application for an embedded board can be quite a challenge. Matteo and I, in fact, did a few steps of review, especially related to the color accuracy, which was not great on our board due to the fact we used an embedded display, and also from a composition point of view. In fact, whenever, for example, I introduce some new kind of components that Matteo designed, I asked him to view it on the target, on the embedded board, and to review it and to tell me if I needed to change something. The more general topic I wanted to discuss is about the pages architecture. As you saw in the demo application, we had quite a few pages to show and to go through. In these cases, one of the things the developer has to consider is how you want to manage all these pages. We had mostly two choices: to use a stack layout or to use a stack view. The choice went for the stack layout, and the reason has to do with how we wanted to keep information through the pages. As you saw, we have a back button, and whenever you press the back button, you go back a page. Okay. But what we wanted to do was to preserve the information the user put in the pages ahead. So we didn't want to lose this kind of information. For example, if the user put in his mail address, we didn't want to lose this information when going back one page. This is due to the fact that on the embedded target, as you saw, we have a virtual keyboard, and using that is not always the most comfortable thing. So we wanted to reduce the strain on the user from putting in the information again. For this reason, we chose the stack layout. In fact, the most peculiar difference between the stack layout and stack view is how information is kept in pages. The stack view behaves really like a stack, so you can push and pop pages, and the page on top is the one which is visible. Whenever you push a page, the page is created brand new, and whenever you pop it, it is destroyed. So all the information that was inside that page is also lost. In a stack layout, things works a little different. In fact, all the pages you need are created ahead, and they are all alive at the same time. And so if you put in information in one page, when you switch page, that page is still alive. So also the information it had in keeps being there. So whenever you go forward, you can find that information again. And we chose the stack layout for this reason. The more specific topic I wanted to talk about is the activity page. As you saw in the activity page, we had 3 sliders that defined the percentage of the activity that the user spent during a day. The most challenging thing was to correctly map the sliders percentage to the arc on the circles, and we're gonna see now how I approach this kind of problem. This is the activity page. Let's begin focusing on the coding thousands of rows slider, the pink one. As you might notice, we are at 50% of the slider, but on the circle we're using a third of the space available. What happens if we move all the way to the right? We are now using 100% of the circle available, and if we move all the way to the left, now we are not using any space anymore with the pink one. What this should tell us is that this slider has a non-linear behavior. In fact, in order to take up 50% of the space, we need to move the slider at about 60%. This is the plot with the three most interesting points. The slider at 0%, the slider at 50%, and the slider at 100%. So what happens if we try to map this correspondence between the slider and the circle using just a linear function, so x? As you can see, if we try to use x, which is just a line, we are really far from intersecting the point B, which is the slider at 50%. So what we need to do is to try to find a more accurate function that can also intersect point B. This kind of function we are trying to find is in the form of x raised to the power of something, and it is bound to 0 and 1. So let's say this parameter is called a, and it's going to be bigger than 1. We could try a trial and error approach, but this is not gonna be really accurate. In fact, let's say a good value is 1.6 for this parameter. If we are going to zoom in, we can clearly see that we are really off from intersecting point B. Let's see how a mathematical approach could help us solve this. So we defined f of x as x raised to the power of a. A is the parameter we want to find its value. We are going to calculate this at x equals 1 over 2. This is the point B, the 50% of the slider. And we know that at 50% of the slider corresponds 1/3 over the circle. Okay, so now we want to bring down the parameter a, which is at the exponent, and we can do this using logarithms. Applying logarithms to this, we are going to have a logarithm of 1 over 3, which is equal to a, the parameter we want to find, that is multiplying logarithm of 1 over 2. We can use the properties of equations to move the logarithm on the left side. We can reverse the content of the logarithms to simplify things a little bit. And using a calculator, now we can find the exact value of the parameter a, which is approximately 1.58. Going back to the plot, we can now try to put in the value we just found for the parameter a. So let's put it in, okay. And as you can see, this seems quite right from a zooming out perspective. Zooming a little bit more in, yeah, you can see the point B is spot on our curve. This is how I mapped the correspondence between the slider and the circle. I did this for each of the sliders, so each of the slider has this function applied to it in order to map it correctly to the circle. You can see how I coded this on our public GitHub repository, which you can find in the slides. You can also download the code, try it for yourself. You can also try to see what happens if you use a linear function to represent this correspondence and the problems that arise from it. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the content, and have a nice day.
All right, everyone, we are ready to do the Q&A session live. So let's go ahead and bring on Tommaso. And Matteo, where is yours? I'll get Matteo in just a moment. There he is. His name was down the list a little bit. There you both are. Hi. Thank you so much for that. Let's see. I want to know if there was anything before we get to the questions that either of you wanted to add from the presentation.
No, nothing about the presentation, no.
All right, well then we can go ahead and get right to the questions. We've got a few in the Q&A, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of them. One question is, how skilled should I be in order to use the design thinking method on a scale of 0 to 10?
Okay. So, in my honest opinion, you shouldn't be very expert to face the learning of design thinking methods. In particular, you have to be animated to the desire to discover something new for the user. So what is the need that you want to satisfy? And today we mentioned some complex activities of which the design thinking is composed. But in my opinion, so the world of design thinking is very accessible for anyone. So you can learn very fast, but the most important thing is start to try to find new solution for your problem by asking something to the users, to the real users, and not just for the final result.
Thank you for that. I see we have another one in chat from Claire. Claire says, how do you persuade companies to recruit professional designers? Good question.
About the company, so the question is, okay, so I mean, so to the hiring the professional designers is now in this in this historical moment, the company want to decide to have the designer, the internal designer, and because the external designer can't follow very well the process, the design thinking process, not even for the project, but even for the company method to work. So a person internal of the company could help the whole company to improve process and method. So to hiring the method to hire the designers in the world, I mean. So you can start by using a grid portfolio, of course, but even around the portfolio, so you can add some explanation about the past project you made, for example.
Definitely. Having a diverse portfolio definitely helps. We have another question here from Daniel, who asks if it's possible to have the presentation. I assume he means the slides, because this video is recorded and you'll be able to see that. How about the slides? Is that something that you guys can share with the users, the participants?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see in the chat, Matteo Benci already answered this.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yes, we'll put the slides available for download. Fantastic. Okay, everything shared. Great. All right, next question is about Spotify. How did you integrate the Spotify playlist part into the application? That was cool.
Okay, that's for me.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't actually, meaning that all communications with Spotify are not handled inside the Qt demo application that we showed you today. We decided to split the user experience from the playlist dispatch that happens by email. And the Spotify playlist sending is performed by a process that runs in the background on the devel board, so on the embedded target. It wakes up thanks to a file watcher that monitors writes on a SQL database where the data of the demo is flushed when the user ends the current session. I only know details at a high level since I'm not the author of the playlist sending implementation. Being a process that runs in the background, I only interacted with it through the SQL database itself, even in development. The source code of the Spotify playlist sending implementation is private at the moment, so you will not have access to it. And this was done on purpose, since we wanted to showcase also the possibility of mixing an open source Qt-based graphical user interface with a proprietary implementation for the internal business logic, which in this case is how we generated a playlist specifically tuned for the choices that the user made. And apart from this, Spotify APIs are based on a REST implementation, and those are public, so you can go look at them for yourself on the Spotify documentation and websites. And I hope I answered your questions.
Great, thank you. Very thorough. All right, I think we have one more question here, which is, by introducing design thinking methods, how much are the initial investment and the subsequent return on that investment?
So you can consider the 25 or 30% of the budget for the initial investment on a project about the UX part. About the return, we can mention a statement from IBM, so where the $1 spent for to find usability problem and to solve them, so is a 10 or 100% of dollars of return at the end of the project. So this is just an estimation because you can't obtain a real value at the end of the process. But in any case, so the return is very high when you invest up 25 or 30% of your budget into the design thinking activities. The final return. So it depends from many factors because for each project there are different metrics that you have to analyze. For example, if you are building or if you are designing a product for a project or a software, for an industrial company, probably the time that the employee spent to use the software is a factor that you have to consider to analyze your return of the investment. If you are a designer of a website or an e-commerce, probably you should consider different factors. But in any case, the final return, so the return of the investment, is an estimation. So it's not an absolute value. This is the point.
Right. It might be different for everyone doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, I think that was the last question. Yeah, it seems we don't have any others. So I want to thank both of you, Matteo and Tommy, for being part of QtDay. You did a fantastic job, and it's great to have you being here, a few more developer people into it.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else you wanted to add before we wrap it up?
I'm very happy to have participated to QtDay. This is my first talk, and I'm excited to talk about it. So,
it was fantastic.
Guys, thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you have a first talk, for sure. Both of you did great. All right. Well, we'll see you around QtDay. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you around Develer probably next year. Sure. All right. Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Okay, so that concludes this. You guys did a great job. So everyone watching, if you'd like, you can definitely rate this talk on the agenda page of the QtDay conference. And so let me let you know in about 10 minutes, sorry, at 1:20 p.m., we'll have the next talk, which is Quickly and Effectively Testing Qt Desktop Applications by Claire McRae. So hope to see you then.